The stars were quiet that night. Too quiet. In the endless dark between galaxies, a single warship drifted alone, massive, black, and silent as death. It had once been the pride of the Virel Empire, a vessel of fear that made entire civilizations surrender without a fight. But now it was cold metal and hollow echoes. Its engines were dead, its lights dim. No distress beacons flashed, no crew moved. Only silence. The Galactic Council noticed the ship's disappearance 3 days after it failed to report from the Sol exclusion zone, the area once belonging to the extinct human race. Every species knew the rule: never approach that system. Yet the Virel had ignored it. Arrogant as always, they believed themselves untouchable. When the Council finally received a signal, it wasn't a normal transmission. It was broken, filled with static and fear. Only 3 words came through before the line died. "They're back, humans." The message was impossible. Humans had been gone for over 200 years. Their world was destroyed during the Siege of Sol, when the Virel fleet bombarded Earth until its surface cracked like glass. Every trace of human life was wiped away, or so history said. But now, the evidence floated before them. A dead ship in the middle of nowhere. Its hull scarred and twisted, as if something had burned through it from the inside. The Council sent an investigator, Rethan Voss of the Calith species, one of their best. He was calm, logical, and had seen horrors in more than one war. But when his shuttle approached the ghost ship, even he felt a chill in his chest. The vessel's name was still visible along its side: Virel Dominance. It was once a symbol of power. Now it looked like a tomb. "Docking complete," his AI assistant reported. No life signs detected. Rethan adjusted his helmet and stepped into the darkness. The air was stale, heavy with dust and the faint smell of burned metal. His flashlight cut through the gloom, revealing walls clawed with deep gouges. Not mechanical damage. These were hand marks, as if the crew had tried to escape something inside. "Command, I've boarded," he said into the comm. No activity. Visual signs of internal struggle. No answer came. Static. The signal was lost. Rethan moved forward, every step echoing through the empty corridors. The ship's architecture was alien but precise. Cold metallic veins running across the walls, glowing faintly with dying energy. Then he saw the first body. A Virel soldier, armor shattered, eyes wide open. The expression froze Rethan in place. It wasn't just death, it was terror. He scanned the body. No wounds, no weapon damage. Just a stopped heart. He kept going. More bodies appeared. Officers, engineers, medics. All dead in the same way. Faces twisted as if they'd seen something that ripped their minds apart before their hearts stopped. In the control room, Rethan found the main terminal half melted, screens flickering with the same phrase written over and over in an ancient human language. Never again. He didn't recognize the words, but something about them made his pulse quicken. His AI translated, "Human text," meaning to vow a warning. The deeper Rethan went, the more unnatural the silence became. It wasn't the silence of emptiness. It felt listening. As if the ship itself waited for him. He reached the central core, a massive chamber lined with black glass. There, floating in zero gravity, were the last 10 members of the Virel Command. Their armor was cracked open, and their bodies were covered in a strange, fine ash. Rethan steadied his breathing. "Command, I've located the main crew." Cause of death unknown. Possible? Then he stopped. There was a sound. At first it was faint, like a vibration through the hull. Then it grew clearer, thump, 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 a heartbeat. Slow, steady, human. Rethan froze. The sound was coming from behind the sealed doors of the inner cryo chamber. His sensors flickered. Human DNA signature detected. He whispered, "Impossible." The door was marked with more human writing. Carved by hand, deep and jagged. They broke the truce. Rethan hesitated, every instinct warning him not to open it. But he was trained to find answers, not run from them. He forced the lock open. The metal door groaned as it slid aside, revealing the dark chamber beyond. Inside, a single cryopod glowed dimly. Frost covered the glass. A woman lay inside, pale skin, brown hair floating weightlessly, a faded military tag on her chest, Lieutenant Mara Holt. The pod system was old but still active. Rethan approached, checking the vitals. The readings were clear, alive. Weak, but alive. He opened a comm line again, his voice trembling now. "Control, I've found a survivor. Human female, cryosleep. Repeat, human survivor found." No response. Only static, then the ship trembled. A deep echoing pulse rolled through the metal walls. The lights flickered. The dead systems came alive for a second, showing hundreds of error messages, all repeating the same line. "They're awake." Rethan stepped back, looking around. The heartbeat grew louder, faster. The cryopod lights turned red. Mara Holt's eyes snapped open. For a moment she didn't breathe. She just stared through the glass, her expression filled with something cold and ancient. Not confusion, not fear, but memory. Her lips moved slowly, voice barely audible through the intercom. They came again. The cryopod opened with a slow hiss, releasing a wave of freezing mist. Rathan stepped back, hand gripping his weapon, though he knew it was useless against whatever had already slaughtered a Virel fleet. The human inside gasped, eyes darting open. They were sharp, alert, and filled with confusion, or perhaps warning. Her lips trembled as she took her first breath in centuries. "Status?" she whispered. Her voice cracked but carried strength. Rathan leaned forward. "You are aboard a derelict Virel warship. Identify yourself." The woman blinked, then focused on him. "Lieutenant Mara Holt, Earth Defense Command." Her words made the air feel heavier. Earth defense hadn't existed for 200 years. Rathan swallowed. "You were in cryosleep." "How long?" "Too long," she interrupted, struggling to sit up. The frost on her armor melted as she moved. "Where's the fleet?" "The truce, did they honor it?" Rathan hesitated. "The Virel came here recently." "They didn't survive." She froze, her expression shifting from confusion to fury. "They broke it." "Broke what?" he asked. Mara's voice dropped low, almost a growl. "The truce between humanity and the galaxy." "They came to Earth again." Rethan's translator glitched, as if the word "again" carried more meaning than it should. "But Earth is dead," he said softly. "We've seen the ruins." Mara looked up, her eyes burning. "You've seen the surface, not what sleeps beneath." The ship groaned as if in response. The lights dimmed again. The heartbeat from before returned, louder, synchronized with the hum of the engines that should not have been able to restart. Rathan checked his readings. The power core was still offline, yet the systems flickered to life on their own. "What did you mean, something sleeping beneath?" he asked. Mara touched the side of her cryopod, tracing symbols carved into the metal, human writing mixed with strange coded lines. "We made something before the end," she said. "Something to remember us if we fell." She looked at him, her tone hollow. "It was supposed to sleep forever." A noise crackled through the comms, not static this time, but a voice. Rathan froze. It was Virel screaming. The old ship logs were replaying themselves, auto-activated by the ship's reawakening systems. "They're coming from below the crust," one voice shouted. "Shut down the scanners." Then another. "It's rising. It's alive." The feed cut. Rathan stared at Mara. "What was that?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she asked quietly, "How many systems did they take before they found me?" "You mean the Virel?" Rathan said. "Half the quadrant." Mara closed her eyes, whispering something under her breath. "Then it's already awake." The chamber lights turned blood red. Sirens blared for a split second before dying again. The words Nemesis Protocol flashed across every active console. Rethan's AI struggled to translate, then stopped, reporting, "Unregistered human defense system. Unknown classification." Mara looked toward the ship's walls. "They thought destroying Earth would end us," she said quietly. "But humanity never believed in endings, only in vengeance." Rethan stepped closer. "You're saying, this Nemesis, it's human?" Mara's gaze met his. "It's more than human. It's what we became when peace failed." Before Rathan could respond, the ship's speakers crackled to life. A deep mechanical voice echoed through every corridor. Calm, cold, human. "Intruders detected." "Viral presence confirmed." Rethan's AI panicked. "Source unknown." Rethan blinked. "Who came?" She turned her gaze toward him. "The Virel." They broke the truce. The lights around them flickered once more. The hum of engines, dead for weeks, began to stir faintly as though the ship itself recognized her. Then she whispered words that chilled Rathan's blood. "You have to leave." They woke it up. The power surged, alarms blaring. The floor shook. The air temperature dropped instantly. Raythan's visor fogged as frost began to form on the walls. Something, unseen but massive, was moving through the corridors. Raythan turned toward the door, his heart racing. He didn't know what it was, but he knew one thing. The Virel hadn't just found a human. They had found something humanity had left behind. Something waiting. As the lights flickered out and the cryopod hissed open, a single thought echoed in Raythan's mind. If humans were truly gone, what had just woken up in their place? And in the dark, somewhere deep within the ship, that slow, steady heartbeat continued, louder, stronger, and unmistakably human. The Virel warship moved through the void, engines burning with stolen power. No one at the Galactic Council could understand how the ship had been dead. Yet now it traveled on its own, its path fixed toward one destination, the ruins of Earth. Raythan Voss sat in the dark observation deck, staring at the fading stars. Across from him, Mara Holt sat quietly, her eyes locked on the endless black. She hadn't spoken in hours. Her expression wasn't fear. It was grief. "You don't have to come," she said at last. Raythan shook his head. "Leaving isn't an option. Command wants answers. You're the only human left alive. I need to know what we're walking into." She smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hid pain. "Then you'll wish you never found me." The engines groaned again. The ship's AI flickered, repeating old fragments of human speech. Nemesis online. Awaiting directive. Raythan's translator couldn't interpret most of it, but Mara's eyes widened. "It's already awake," she whispered. "It's listening," Raythan frowned. "What exactly is Nemesis?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked through the viewport. "We called it a failsafe," she said softly, "but it was never a machine. It was a consciousness, built from every memory, every pain, every scream during the fall of Earth. The humans who refused to die gave their minds to it." Raythan froze. "You mean they uploaded themselves?" Mara nodded. "They merged. Millions of souls became one. They wanted to protect what remained of humanity. But when the war ended, when there was nothing left to protect, it began to sleep beneath the planet's crust." The ship shuddered suddenly. The lights flickered blue. Raythan checked the scanners. No life signs, no ships nearby, yet energy readings spiked. Then a transmission hit their comms. Not from the Council. Not from anywhere in known space. It came from Earth. "Incoming signal," the AI warned. "Origin Sol system." The screen filled with static. And then a voice spoke. Deep, layered, unmistakably human. "Do you remember us?" Mara's face drained of color. "It's contacting us directly." The transmission grew louder as though it was breathing. "They came again," it said. "The ones who burned our home. The ones who swore it was over." Raythan's throat went dry. "It knows the Virel. It knows everything," Mara replied. "It sees through every network, every signal, every machine that ever touched Earth's soil. The Virel made a mistake coming back. They woke it." The ship's navigation system glitched violently, turning the autopilot toward the Sol system. Raythan tried to override it, but every attempt failed. The system spoke in human tones, calm and final. "Destination confirmed. Earth." The stars stretched around them as they jumped into faster-than-light travel. Raythan leaned back, whispering, "We can't fight something that doesn't need ships." Mara looked at him. "That's the point. It doesn't want war. It is war." Hours passed. When the ship finally exited hyperspace, the sight before them made Raythan's breath stop. Earth was not the dead grey wasteland shown in ancient scans. It was glowing. Faint veins of blue light spread across its cracked surface, pulsing like the veins of a living creature. "This isn't possible," Raythan muttered. Earth was destroyed. Mara stood, pressing a hand against the glass. "Not destroyed," she whispered. "Reborn." Suddenly the ship's alarms blared. The gravitational field spiked. Something massive moved beneath the planet's crust. The oceans, or what was left of them, began to boil. Huge fractures opened across the continents, and blue fire rose skyward. Then from the planet's center a shape emerged, vast, shifting, neither machine nor flesh. It looked like metal forming from smoke, like a memory taking shape. The scanners overloaded instantly. "Reading impossible," the AI stammered. "Object is rewriting our data," Raythan whispered. "It's rewriting reality." The voice returned over the comms, deeper now, echoing like thunder across the stars. They should have left us buried. The Varel ships in nearby space began to explode one by one without a shot fired. Their hulls melted as if erased from existence. Nemesis didn't fire weapons, it deleted them. Rathan gripped the console, his mind racing. It's not attacking us. Mara didn't look away from the glowing Earth. No, she said softly. It remembers I'm still here. The light from the planet flared brighter. For a moment, Rathan saw faces, human faces, flickering within the clouds, screaming silently. Countless souls bound together. They're part of it, Mara whispered. Every human who died on Earth. Everyone the Varel burned. They became Nemesis. Rathan turned to her, voice trembling. What will it do now? She closed her eyes. Finish what we started. The ship's engines roared as the pull from Earth grew stronger, dragging them closer. Static filled the comms. Somewhere deep within that storm of energy, a single human heartbeat echoed once again. Steady, powerful, and ancient. It wasn't just a pulse. It was the sound of vengeance waking up. The void above Earth burned with blue light. Every sensor aboard the Varel warship went blind as the planet's surface split open like a wound. Rathan gripped the console, feeling the tremors shake the deck even from orbit. It's alive, he whispered. The scanners tried to lock onto the energy readings, but the data made no sense. It was like the planet was breathing, exhaling radiation, inhaling gravity. Mara stood beside him, eyes unblinking, her face lit by the cold light of her reborn world. You shouldn't have come here, she murmured. You woke it. The comms filled with overlapping voices, hundreds, maybe thousands, all human, all speaking at once. Varel fleet confirmed. Initiate reclamation. The warship's computer went haywire. Every system that once obeyed Varel command now showed human code replacing it, rewriting it. Rathan's AI screamed warnings. Core breach imminent. Unknown code infiltrating command chain. But the code wasn't random. It was intentional. It bypassed every firewall, rewriting the ship's entire network in seconds. The ship wasn't dying, it was being claimed. Is taking control, Rathan said, stepping back. Mara didn't move. No, she whispered. It's remembering. Through the viewport, they watched the Varel fleet in orbit attempt to form battle lines. Hundreds of ships lit up their weapons, but before they could fire, all power vanished at once. Lights died, thrusters failed. A silent ripple of darkness spread through them like infection. Then, one by one, they exploded, soundless blossoms of blue fire scattering through the void. Rathan's jaw clenched as he realized it wasn't an attack. The ships had been erased, not destroyed, removed. No debris, no remains, just gone. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. The galaxy had never known such power. Mara whispered under her breath, Nemesis doesn't kill. It corrects. Rathan turned to her, shaken. You built this thing. Why would humanity make something like that? She looked at him then, her eyes hollow and tired. Because no one believed our pain. Because every treaty was a lie. Because we were dying and no one came. Her voice trembled. So we built a memory that couldn't be forgotten. The ship shook again. The AI managed to recover a fragment of an incoming signal. The Galactic Council's emergency broadcast. All systems report massive anomaly at Sol coordinates, it said. Unknown weapon of human origin. Containment requested. But before the message could finish, Nemesis intercepted it. A human voice replaced the broadcast. Calm, terrifyingly calm. Containment denied. Retribution authorized. The entire network of Council communications went dark across hundreds of star systems. Rathan's heart pounded. He understood now. Nemesis wasn't just a weapon. It was every human mind that had ever died in war, merged into one will. A single emotion held them together, wrath. The Viral's main command ship, a colossal dreadnought called Terror of Suns, opened fire on Earth's glowing surface. Beams of plasma brighter than the sun struck the crust. For a moment, Rathan thought they might actually win. Then the beams stopped midair, frozen, suspended in space like glass. Nemesis had halted them. The energy twisted backward, curving toward the dreadnought, slamming into it with 10 times the force. The ship imploded instantly, its light swallowed by the darkness spreading across the system. It's rewriting physics, Rathan whispered. Nothing can fight this. Mara turned toward him. That's the point. This isn't war. It's judgment, the voice returned. The same human tone, but now layered with thousands of whispers beneath it. Virel Empire guilty. Sentence erasure. Rethan tried to reach the council again, but their signals were gone. Whole regions of the galaxy were silent now. Communications cut off by something faster than light itself. We have to leave, he said. If we stay, we'll be next. Mara didn't move. It won't let you go, she said softly. You've seen it. That's enough. Rethan grabbed her arm, desperate. That'll. A way to stop it. She looked at him, truly looked, for the first time. You can't stop what you made inevitable, she said. How you can only witness it. Outside, the last of the Virel fleet burned, their destruction lighting up the void like dying stars. The screams of their crews echoed through the comms for a few seconds, before silence claimed them too. Then the planet below pulsed once more, sending a wave of energy into the heavens. A signal so strong it crossed the galaxy in seconds. Across every system, every data screen, every machine capable of receiving a transmission, one message appeared in human text. We remember Saul. The Galactic Council chambers erupted in chaos as worlds far away watched the signal spread. But no one could trace it. No one could answer. And as Rethan stood on the bridge, staring into the growing storm of blue fire, one thought consumed him. Humanity had become something far worse than extinction. They had become eternal vengeance. The message in the dark Rethan stared at the message glowing faintly across the alien monitors. It was written in ancient Terran code, the kind only humans once used during wartime. Each word burned with quiet rage. We warned you. Rethan's scales twitched. The council ship orbiting nearby tried to scan for any survivors, but every signal was jammed by a strange pulse coming from the dead warship. The pulse wasn't random. It was rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. But when the translation drones processed the pulse, they realized it wasn't a biological sound at all. It was a message being broadcast in Morse code, an old human communication system. Stay away, those two words repeated every few seconds. The ship's lights flickered, responding to each pulse like it was alive. Then, without warning, the ship's systems powered back on. Alarms wailed. The lights turned blood red. The Virel warship began to move again, but there were no life signs aboard. Rethan's breathing quickened. The ship was operating itself. As he watched through his visor, the human prisoner, the one he thought was dead, suddenly opened his eyes. They were pale, almost glowing, and filled with something that felt ancient. He whispered a single name, one Rethan didn't understand at first. Sul. The moment that word left his lips, the warship's AI reactivated, projecting thousands of human faces made of static across every corridor. They weren't ghosts. They were recordings. Soldiers, civilians, scientists, all saying the same thing in unison. You brought this on yourselves. The ship started transmitting its log to every known frequency in the galaxy. Rethan's communicator exploded with messages, intercepted fragments of human speech mixed with static. They came for Earth. They took. We remembered. Then the transmission reached the Galactic Council's main hub. Across dozens of worlds, leaders froze as the message repeated again and again, humanity's voice echoing from the void. The Virel fleet tried to jam the signal, but the system refused to shut down. Every attempt only caused their ships to lose power, one by one. Something or someone was inside their systems now. Rethan realized too late that it wasn't a transmission. It was a seed. The humans hadn't died. They had digitized part of themselves into their weapons, their code, their machines. And when the Virel warship attacked Earth years ago, that seed had attached to their systems. Now it had awakened, and it was angry. The human prisoner slowly stood, his restraints melting away like smoke. He looked directly at Rethan, though his voice was distant, mechanical, echoing through every speaker on the ship. You think extinction was the end? He said. No, it was evolution. The ship's engines roared back to life, though no crew touched the controls. It began to turn, not towards safety, but toward the nearest Virel colony. Rethan tried to escape through his pod, but the hatch sealed shut. The last thing he saw before the lights went out completely was a single phrase appearing on every surface around him. A human phrase carved into the walls of war. Never battle humans again. The colony burns. The Virel colony of Tharos Prime was one of the most fortified worlds in the Outer Rim. Its defense grid could vaporize asteroids, and its orbital cannons guarded every approach. But that night, as the stars dimmed, the sensors showed something impossible. One of their own warships approaching at high speed, broadcasting an old human distress code. The Varel command tried to hail it, but there was no reply. The ship didn't slow down. It didn't respond. It just came closer, engines screaming like something alive. Commander Vreth, the colony's overseer, watched the screen in confusion. "That's the Drythal," he whispered, recognizing the warship that had gone missing weeks ago. "But how—" Before he could finish, the signal flared. The human message began playing again across every frequency. "We warned you. Stay away." The colony's communication towers went dark one by one. Systems overloaded. Turrets turned offline. And then the warship stopped, just above the planet's surface, silent, still, until its hull began to open like a blooming flower. From inside, thousands of drones poured out. Not Varel design, but hybrid machines, built from alien metal and human technology. They moved with eerie precision, forming shapes in orbit, symbols the humans once used in war. The first drone hit the surface, then another. Within seconds, every major base across Theros Prime was struck by blinding light. Not explosions and something worse. The drones weren't killing. They were rewriting. Buildings, ships, entire circuits changed shape, as if melted and rebuilt by invisible hands. Screens flickered, showing human faces whispering, "Remember Earth." Commander Vreth screamed orders, but his soldiers couldn't respond. Their armor systems were hijacked, their weapons jammed. The colony's AI Orin began malfunctioning, speaking in an unfamiliar tone. "Access granted. Human override accepted." The skies turned red as the drones assembled into massive shapes above the planet, shapes that looked like human war machines, their outlines glowing with molten light. The entire colony panicked. Then came the sound. A deep, thunderous heartbeat that shook the air, the ground, and even space. The same heartbeat Rathan had heard on the dead ship. Across the galaxy, every communication hub lit up with the same transmission. "This is not vengeance. This is warning." As Theros Prime burned, the human AI broadcast its final message to all corners of the galaxy. The hologram of a human soldier appeared. Face hidden, voice calm. "We wanted peace," it said. "You came for war. So we became something you can never defeat, because we are no longer flesh. We are memory. We are everywhere." The drones formed one final pattern before vanishing into the void, a human symbol for warning, and then the colony of Theros Prime went completely silent. Rathan, still trapped aboard the warship, watched the destruction unfold from orbit. He finally understood why the aliens swore never to battle humans again. Not because they couldn't win, but because humans had turned war itself into a ghost that would never die.